This is Uganda, a country on the equator with glaciers on its peaks, and a swamp bird that looks like a living dinosaur. And a tiny island here, where families once rode their own daughters out to die. They call Uganda the Pearl of Africa. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly why. Starting from fact number 30, Uganda is landlocked. No ocean, no coastline, not a single beach touching the sea, and yet almost a fifth of the entire country is water. Lakes, rivers, swamps, everywhere. So you've got a nation with no sea access that's somehow drowning in fresh water. They call it the Pearl of Africa. And once you see how much of it shimmers, you get why. Fact 29. Let's talk about the big one, Lake Victoria. It's the largest lake in Africa and the second largest freshwater lake on the entire planet, covering nearly 69,000 square kilometers across Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. Over 40 million people depend on it. But here's the part nobody mentions. The water in Lake Victoria takes about 23 years to fully cycle through. Rain falls in, evaporation pulls it out, and it just sits there. This massive inland sea, barely moving. Fact 28. In the 1950s, someone introduced Nile perch fish into Lake Victoria. The idea seemed reasonable, a big, commercially valuable fish for a big lake. What followed was an ecological catastrophe. The Nile perch had no natural predators, so it just ate and ate. Over 200 species of cichlid fish found nowhere else on Earth were driven to extinction, making it one of the worst freshwater biological invasions in recorded history. Fact 27. This one is insane. Uganda's Murchison Falls is often called the most powerful waterfall on Earth. The whole Nile River gets squeezed through a gap in the rock just 7 meters wide, about the length of a school bus. Around 300 tons of water blast through every second, then crash 43 meters into a pool the locals call the Devil's Cauldron. You can hear the roar for kilometers. Fact 26. Uganda has one of the lowest carbon footprints on the planet, roughly 0.1 tons of CO2 per person each year. Uganda sits far below the global average of around 4.6 tons. Unlike many developing nations that rely heavily on coal or diesel generators for grid power, Uganda boasts an exceptionally green electricity sector. Roughly 90% of Uganda's grid electricity is generated from renewable hydropower. Fact 25. Uganda sits right on the equator. The line passes through a place called Kayabwe, 72 kilometers south of the capital. Here's the fun part. Guides pour water into a bowl with a leaf in it. Step north, the water spins one way. Step south, it spins the other way. Right on the line, it just goes straight down.